Hikmah History presents the Dome of the Rock. Few monuments can boast of being so religiously important to three of the major monotheistic Abrahamic religions. It has stood the test of time for more than 1,000 years and has been viewed by many historical figures with awe, one of which, the 14th century travel writer Ibn Battuta, provides us with a fitting description, calling it a building of extraordinary beauty, solidity, elegance, and singularity of shape, both outside and inside. The decoration is so magnificent and the workmanship so surpassing as to defy description. The greater part is covered with gold, so that the eyes of one who gazes on its beauties are dazzled by its brilliance, now glowing like a mass of light, now flashing like lightning. Even in popular culture, most people know that this is a pretty important building, but some might not necessarily know why this is the case. In order to figure it out, we have to delve into theology a little bit. The main reason being that the Dome of the Rock is built over something called a foundation stone. For Muslims, this was the starting point of the Prophet Muhammad's night journey to heaven, a really momentous occasion in the Islamic tradition. But the foundation stone also bears relevance for Jews as well, the main reason being that it's considered the starting point from where the world expanded into its present form and where God gathered the dust used to create the first human being, Adam. However, other reasons have been put forward for the construction of the Dome of the Rock. For instance, the desire to proclaim the emergence of Islam as a supreme new faith. In this sense, the dome may have been intended to rival that of the Christian holy buildings of Jerusalem, such as the domed Church of the Holy Sepulchre. They both have domes that are almost identical in size, and the elevated position of the Dome of the Rock suggests that it may have been a way to proclaim the superiority of Islam over Christianity. This view is further backed up if we look at some of the Arabic inscriptions on the outside of the dome, which presents a selection of passages from the Quran that paraphrases Islam's view on Jesus, mainly that it denounces the Christian doctrines of the Trinity and the divinity of Jesus, but at the same time emphasizing the unity of God and confirming Jesus' status as a prophet in Islam. Like so many other architectural masterpieces, the Dome of the Rock's value can be appreciated from a mathematical point of view due to its usage of proportion. For example, each of the outer walls is 67 feet long, which is exactly the same as the dome's diameter and which is also the height from the base to the drum. As you can see, a lot of thinking went into it. Oh, and I almost forgot. It's located on the Temple Mount, or the Haram al-Sharif, which can be argued to be one of the most religiously significant places on earth, since it houses monuments which are integral to all three of the Abrahamic religions. Okay, now that we know why it's so important, let's move on to understanding a basic chronology of its history. Because this area is important to all three of the Abrahamic faiths, we're going to witness a high degree of civilizational continuity, meaning that each new power and dynasty is going to build on what they've inherited from the previous one. Our story starts with the Jewish Second Temple, which was itself built over the first Jewish temple. Then the Romans came into the area driven by the zeal of imperial expansion and built a temple dedicated to Jupiter, their main god. The Dome of the Rock as we know it today was completed in 691 AD at the order of the Umayyad Khalif Abd al-Malik. Since then it suffered from multiple earthquakes and therefore has required a lot of restoration work done to it. Now when the Crusaders took over Jerusalem in the 12th century, the Dome of the Rock retained its significance because it was regarded by the Knights Templar as being the site of the Temple of Solomon, and they actually used it on their official seals as well. Later on, when the Knights Templar would return back to continental Europe, the Dome of the Rock would serve as an architectural model for round Templar churches all across Europe. When Saladin conquered the city in 1187, he reconsecrated the Dome of the Rock as a mosque and replaced the cross with a crescent. One of the most strikingly beautiful aspects of this monument are the multicolored tiles on its exterior. These are thanks to Suleiman the Magnificent, who was the Ottoman Sultan in the 16th century. Fast forward to the 20th century, a lot of restoration work was done at the beginning of it by Haji Amin al-Husseini. No, not that guy. Yeah, that guy. The Grand Mufti of Jerusalem. But much of this was unfortunately undone again by an earthquake. And since the creation of the State of Israel, the dome's refurbishments have been largely carried out by the Jordanian government. Nothing has the potential to be as dogmatic as religion can be, so when you view a religious monument from a theological lens, often it blinds you from viewing the complexity of its cross-cultural and historical interactions that have come to form it. The Dome of the Rock is a perfect example of this. It sheds a light onto how early Islam interacted with some of its neighboring states, even gaining inspiration from them. and this is seen in the form of the Dome of the Rock, which was influenced by Sasanian and Byzantine architecture. We know this because some of the interior mosaics are similar in technique to those found in Byzantine churches such as San Vitale in Ravenna, Italy. Also, some of the columns supporting the inner octagon and the center circle are of different sizes. This suggests that they were recycled from previous structures, something which is very common in Levantine architecture. Even the form of the architectural dome follows the Byzantine model of churches. We see this with the Hagia Sophia. The fact that the Dome of the Rock gained inspiration from non-Islamic sources is not intended to undermine the spiritual value of the monument. In fact, part of the reason why some of the early Islamic powers like the Umayyad Caliphate and the Abbasid Caliphate became world powers was their willingness to be able to learn from their competitors. We can see this through the Islamic world's vivid and dynamic interaction with classical Greek Hellenistic philosophy. This is in many ways a stark contrast to the rigidity and black and white approach that has characterized a lack of progress in much of the Islamic world in the last 100 or so years. As usual, I want to thank you all for joining. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.